Hello everybody and welcome to Wednesday of Flexible Instruction Day. We're going to continue on in our entomology unit today talking about specifically bees. So yesterday we started the conversation with bees by looking at what bees are attracted to for color-wise. We saw what habitats they need to be able to live in, and we were looking at specifically the areas that you guys live in Berks County, Pennsylvania. So today I'm going to be showing you guys my hive. I have two hives at my property. One is on my back deck, and it's the one we'll be looking at today. And then I do have one, and I'll post a picture with this video to Schoology. I have one in the back level of my yard as well, down there. It's kind of more over by our peach trees and our apple trees down there. So we do have the two hives on the property. One's up here, and that's the one we're going to be looking at today. It's our main hive. So today what we want to be able to do is really look at what a beehive looks like. So I have my one taken down from last year with some dead hives in it, dead colonies in it, I should say. And I have one that has not been put together yet. And hopefully while we're out here too, we'll be able to see some of the bees coming in and out of the hive that is set up. I'm not going to open it necessarily. It's really, really windy and not that great weather here the past few days, and it's still cold out today. So I'm not going to open it for us today, but we'll be able to see kind of what it would look like in the inside of it as we start our discussion today about beekeeping. So beekeeping is something that I'm extremely new to. It's actually my first season with this hive. It's actually my father-in-law's hive, so it's something that we're going to kind of explore together. The first thing I want to point out is we do our own honey, and there's a bunch of you guys currently doing research with honey, so I want to show you what comes from our hive. A lot of you are doing research with honey and the color of it to be able to identify where the honey came from. So this is from our hive. It's a very tan, like lightish color. This is the last of it that we have from last season. And then my sister just picked this up from the store. I thought it was interesting just because of the color differences. So this is a honey that was made in Brazil. Not exactly sure where or what they were pollinating the bees, but I just thought the color differences between these two were pretty interesting, and I would like to point that out. So every honey that we get is a little bit different based off of what the bees were eating, what plants they were actually pollinating. We just finished it. I wish I had it, but we had some honey from Montana. The bees were pollinating buckwheat. It was a very, very dark color, and they actually weren't able to sell it because the consumers didn't realize that it was still really good honey. It was just really dark because of what the buckwheat the bees were eating. So honey really depends on what taste and what color you're going to get based off of what your bees are eating. And that's kind of what we started looking at yesterday when we were talking about what bees can. Awesome. So my main hive was behind me earlier. It's over here. It's pretty tall, but it's got all the boxes stacked up on top of it. And this is what's inside of those. So inside we have different panels. So this is it without the screen in it. And they just sit in here, and this is where the bees can end up making their colonies. Each of these are about 3/8 inch apart, so that they have space in between their colonies. This is a screen that would go inside on top of these frames. And within this is where they'll put the nectar that they're getting from their flowers or crop or whatever they're pollinating. They'll put them normally on one side, so if these were in the box, on one side, so maybe on this side, and then on the other side is where the eggs would be born. So the queen can lay a ton of eggs in a 24-hour period. She weighs about her body weight by the end of her laying, which kind of starts early summer. So that's probably what's going on right now in those hives. The queen bee's definitely in there, and she's definitely probably laying some eggs right now to have for the summer. And then they go and they sit into these little combs that you see on here. And then once the bees are old enough, they will start working. So inside hives, we have worker bees that do mainly all the working. So they'll create beeswax from their body. They'll secrete certain glands and be able to create their own beeswax, and that's what they'll use to create their colonies and create the hive to begin with. Once they're done with that, then those will be the guys that are going out and pollinating everything. And from there, we also have drone bees, who does the fertilization of the eggs that the queen lays. So there's 3 different types of bees that are normally found within a hive. Like I said, the worker bee that does mainly the construction of the hive, and they'll keep it stocked with nectar so they can make honey. The drone bee that normally you will see for fertilization of those eggs and kind of watch of those eggs, and the queen bee who will lay all those eggs and kind of keeps everything going in the hive. Bees are very smart. They're able to identify who is who in the hive, and we can identify them by looking at the bee themselves. And I'll definitely post some pictures of what each of those three look like. So that's what the inside of this would look like, and we can fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these in. Like I said, we have ours stacked pretty tall right at the moment, and I'll kind of show you again. So I want to wrap up our discussion with bees with just some little beekeeping like 101 facts. So you notice that I'm probably not wearing what I wear to school every day. I am wearing my bee suit. So this is like a nylonish material. It helps prevent if bees going to sting. It doesn't sting me directly. Their stingers won't really go through this. Behind me, so my suit, and I didn't have it on because I wasn't working with the bees, but my suit has a built-on veil. You can either get it separate from the suit or connects on. And mine just goes on like that, so that this way the bees can't come near my face and sting me. It's a good protection and barrier between me and the hive. On my table over here, again, I wasn't really wearing them because I wasn't working with the hive, but I have these really long gloves. Again, this is so that I can handle the bees, so I can physically put my hand, if I needed to, inside and grab anything out of that. You can see they have honey on them from last season, so this is how I would go in and get the honey, would be using these gloves. And again, they're super strong, they're super long, they're adding an extra protection to my arm at this point while I'm in the hive. So this is what a full bee suit would look like. And it's really important that anytime we're working with bees, we use a bee suit with the veil. Other things with bee working, these guys on a normal, non-windy day, I've been sitting out here watching them come in and out of the hive. A bee can fly about 17 kilometers per minute, which is about 8 miles per hour or so. So they'll kind of come in. You can't see it, but I'll try to get some pictures of it as well. Not that it's blooming right now, but in our yard we have off to the side a pollinator garden. So we have a huge flower bed with flowers that attract bees. I know I have some snapdragons that I grew up this year. I do have to plant a few other things, but there's currently daffodils growing in there as well. So we have some things that the bees particularly like in that side of the garden. Another part of our garden is, like I said, where my other hive is where the peach and apple trees are, and some nectarine trees as well. So those are off to the side in the back part of our property, right next to where this hive kind of is. It's kind of just diagonal to it, so it's an easy access point for our bees to be able to go in and out of. Along the front of our yard, again, we try to plant crops that the bees like. So we have a bunch of different crops going up there, as well as to right behind me. Again, you really can't see it right now, but we do have an alfalfa field as well. So lots of common areas for bees to be able to come in and out and pollinate different things. This is what our hive looks like at the end of the season. So you can see there some of the dead hives, some more dead hives there. The screens, I mean, we left this out over the winter time. Normally we want to bring these in because we can. But here, let me see if I can get this angle too. See, the screens are all completely used up by the bees by that point. So that's what the inside looks like after a season. So I wanted to bring you guys down to show you the other hive that I have. So this hive's set up a little bit differently. The bees can come in and out, and you can see, that's a fly. But they would go in and out there, right there. We would still put the same setup in the inside of it. However, it's just going into this main part right here. This one does have a fence around it. It's electric fence. That's why I'm not really touching and going into it. Mainly this fence is there to keep out other animals such as bears. We have a lot of them on the backside of our property, so we kind of don't want them messing with our hives. This one is set up, again, very close to where our pollinator garden is over here, as well as these trees. So the apple trees that we have here need to be cross-pollinated. So they need our bees from here and from the deck to get pollen from one of them to the other in order for us to get the apples off that tree. So that's where bees for us come in very important on our property, making sure that we actually get the crops that we have.